All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming live from our Joburg office. Good morning and welcome back to the opening bell with myself, Tshepo and Ashley. And this is brought to you by TD Markets and TD Markets Academy every Mondays to Fridays at 9, streaming live on YouTube. I hope everyone had a great weekend and we are back to business. All right. So this morning we are focusing on the crypto. We've got Dogecoin, we've got Cardano, as well as Ripple. All right. So we're going to get on with it and let's see what we can expect for this week. All right. So starting with Dogecoin. All right. So Dogecoin, this is how the current price action is looking. And we've got some breaking news on Dogecoin concerning the treasury, right? The Bitcoin treasury. So when you talk about treasury, right? When you look at the Bitcoin and the Ethereum treasury, this is basically a holding where companies would acquire Bitcoin or would acquire Ethereum, and then they would then hold it in their reserve. All right, this is basically to basically take advantage of the crypto market or to leverage the cryptocurrency for financial purposes. Right, so they maintain the reserve, right? This holding just to leverage the cryptocurrency for financial purposes. Now, Dogecoin, there's traction on that, right? One of the companies listed in the Nasdaq has committed funds to establish a Dogecoin treasury, which means just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, companies will be able to acquire and hold Dogecoin in their reserve as part of their investment strategy, right? So this is a signal for growing institutional interest. Now, you guys have seen how Bitcoin has been pushing towards the upside purely because of institutional interest. Ethereum also purely because of institutional interest, right? So this adds more weight and it attracts institutions to adopt these assets, right? Purely for financial purposes and as part of their strategy. So Dogecoin here, we're keeping an eye on these developments. A Dogecoin treasury is going to be very interesting. Looking at where Dogecoin comes from, right? Dogecoin is a meme coin. Now to have a treasury on a meme coin is going to be very interesting. So this is what we are keeping an eye on. And if you take a look at the price action here on Dogecoin, we are looking at how the sellers got exhausted the previous week. All right, so we had a strong push towards the downside, and the whole of last week there was no movement on Dogecoin because there was basically indecision, right? There was no clear direction. But look at where everything is forming. It's forming on the structure, right? So as sellers came in they were selling, and seems like around this area they're starting to get out of the market, right? Now, could this be because of this news? Possibly, right? However, when combining this with the structure here, we're anticipating price to push towards the upside, all right? So initially price started to push from these lows, went all the way up, broke the previous high to form a higher high. Now, seems like we've got a higher low that's forming, and price started to push towards the upside. We have a bit of correction that's forming here. All right, we have a bit of correction that's forming here. So we're anticipating from anywhere around this zone for price to push towards the upside, right? Towards the upside. This is on the weekly candle. You will look at the lower time frames, and then you will see that once we break above the structure, we're anticipating price to push towards the upside. All right. So this is how Dogecoin is looking, right? It's looking good for some upside. We'll keep an eye on these developments and come back with updates. All right. If you take a look at Ripple also something similar, right? We've got the previous week's candle, which closed as an indecision around this 50 Fibonacci retracement area. All right. So this is a very important area now, Now, we're anticipating we're anticipating Ripple to form a higher low and then to continue pushing up because it has already formed a higher high. It is correcting down. We are looking for a higher low, and then we're looking for price to resume the push towards the upside. Now, could this be the start of the next move up? We'll have to look at the lower time frames and how they are behaving, right? Because there's a possibility price might come back down one more time. But as long as price does not break below the zone, right? Even if it comes back down one more time, as long as it doesn't break below the zone, we are most likely to get a push towards the upside, right? So we're keeping an eye on a bullish move on Ripple. This is the current week's candle. We'll also look at the lower time frames to see how things are looking on the lower time frames, because we have this structure here, right? We've got this structure here, which we're anticipating price to break towards the upside, right? It is not going up as aggressive. It's going up quite correctively. So it's giving us two possibilities. Either price will come back down one more time before it goes up, or it will go up from there, right? It's all a matter of getting our confirmations and managing our risk. So yeah, so that is how Ripple is looking at the moment, all right? And then if you take a look at Cardano also something similar. We've got price retracing down to the 1561.8, so anticipating a higher low to form. You will notice that previously when price formed a higher low right here, you will notice that it was on the 50 and the 61.8. So we have a higher low here, and if you look at the Fibonacci there, right, you will see that price came all the way down to the 56.1.8 and then it went up. So now we're anticipating the same reaction on this retracement, right? We're anticipating price to react bullishly from this zone and then to go up. It's all part of the structure, right? It's all part of the structure. So yeah, so that is how Cardano is looking. We've got Ripple and then we've got Dogecoin. We are bullish on all of them. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how things are looking at the moment, right? I'm looking at the chat right now. Temba says, can I have a link? I want to ask, which link are you referring to? Which link are you referring to? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end it here for today. This is the focus, the cryptos, right? We'll come back with more updates. Don't miss tomorrow's session. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch you guys back again tomorrow. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.